the Gulf region and so on, would give us an entry point into analyzing and understanding why exactly do we have the conflict going on in Iran. And of course, we can cite several justifications or reasons, at least in the eyes of the United States. One, of course, the long-term feud between the two states, that is Iran and the United States. And this stretches back to 1979, following the revolution and the coming of Islamic theocracy, which, of course, since 1979 until today, it has been in charge, and of course still continues to be in charge of Iran. Now, what are the key issues in this conversation? The key issues, of course, center around 3 or 4 major areas of focus. One, of course, Iran's interest in build-up of nuclear weapons, the enrichment of uranium. But of course, on the other leg of it, we can talk about Iran's support for the proxy clandestine groups, the Hamas. We also have Hezbollah. We have the Houthi rebels in Yemen. And of course, we understand the kind of activities these groups are able to do. And of course, they work against the specific interest of the United States and its allies. And of course, this is the benchmark. This is the benchmark for the war, the strikes, the assault on Iran. Then, of course, we could also talk about political gimmicking, but also posturing of the United States. How does the United States reach and send a message to Russia, to Putin? And of course, if you look at the trends, who are the states that have been attacked so far, or that have been on the target list for the United States? Venezuela, recently we saw the kidnap, so to speak, of the Venezuelan president, Maduro. It is the same script we have just seen, a whole decapitation of the Iranian regime, beginning with the Grand Ayatollah, Ali, what's the other name? Khamenei. Yes, Khamenei. Plus a whole barrage of his regime stalwarts, those who support him to run the Iranian state. So if you look at all this from these angles, definitely we can have a clearer picture why the war is taking shape in Iran. But of course, as we continue to have conversations, we shall be analyzing this into details. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Let me also come to you, Abdul Nasser Barak. Very quickly, your quick thoughts on why this conflict is happening now.
I believe the conflict has been a long time coming. Some of us could see it coming from as far back as 5 years ago. Ever since, there was a framework that the United States had with the Iranian government on nuclear enrichment. It used to be called the Joint Comprehensive Plan for Action, JCPOA, which Trump 1.0, as we call him, terminated. This used to allowed Iran to use uranium as a source of clean energy, and it was ratified under the Obama administration, and it was there even during the Biden administration, but then it got terminated by the US. Said, without, of course, everything the US claimed, there's not been independent verification, because if you look at the International Atomic Energy Agency, you would find that Iran has been, right from the first time it was attacked, it has been adhering to the rules. It has been playing by the rules. But we know, for us who study that region, is that there's been a long push for there to be a regime change. It has been part of the US foreign policy plan of action and engagement to see that there's a regime change in Iran, because, of course, for their strategic interests.
Like what?
Chief of this interest, personally, I believe, and all the data shows, from Venezuela to Iran, when you look for the common denominator that nobody's talking about, everyone will talk about oil, but very few are talking about China. China, I believe, curtailing China, getting China, because if you look at Venezuela, who lost when they took out Maduro? China.
They had just made
The
a deal.
US had tried to negotiate with China, and China has a chokehold on critical rare earth minerals. And the US has no way through that. And you know, the chips, everything tech, China has been like 10 steps ahead. So the battle has been redefined to come into the area of
rare earth minerals.
Of now energies, and that is oil. Oil is playing a key role, and they want to starve China, to choke China of access to energy, because if you look at who imports most of Iran's oil, it's China. Who imported most of Venezuela's oil? China. Who was left losing, and who has come out to make strong, to condemn the attacks, to condemn US aggression, because that's the language China has used. As if they have even called the US warmonger, and all these strong words have come up to the forefront. And for me, that tells you that the real enemy that America is trying to contain is not even Iran. It's actually China. It's actually China. China was the target, even when you look at the sanctions against Mexico, all those border, all of it from the beginning was to contain China, because in the eyes of America, and most of us who study America in the current situation, the current America in this new geopolitical reality, which we call the great power competition, we know that Russia was yesterday's enemy. Today and tomorrow's enemy, according to Washington, is China.
It's China. Where does this put Israel? Israel is also involved in this particular conflict. Is it an opportunity for them to hit back at Iran? Do they have a justifiable cause? First, let's hear from you before we go to Mr. Opio.
Mr. Opio had actually highlighted some of these issues. You see, for Israel, this is an opportunity to get something that has been close to Bibi's heart for more than 30 years.
Bibi,
that
is the Prime Minister.
Bibi, that is the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu. If you observe most of the commentary, his commentary for a long while has been that Iran is the threat. Even when Iran had a very progressive leader, had a very progressive president, still Bibi kept saying, waving the red flag, saying there is danger here, there is danger here. And he kept on insisting that the US trying to enter a deal with Iran is just a smoke screen. They are just being played. And they've, under the Trump 2.0 administration, they seem to have gotten a leader in Washington who can listen and give Israel what Israel wants, because Israel does not want the Iranian regime there, and it has been so for a very long time. For a very long time, there have been the number one source of information on Iran's true nuclear capabilities, even perceived capabilities, has always been
from Israel.
Israel. So yeah,
all right.
That's.
Let's cross and go to Mr. Opio. Mr. Opio, you hear from Mr. Abdul Baraka there, raising those particular issues, but we also hear the U.S. talking about human rights violations that are in Iran. We hear about nuclear capabilities that are actually Iran has reached a point where it can use a warhead, a nuclear warhead, and they say the enrichment is taking place under the bunkers in very big stones that are dominant in different parts of Iran. So they actually seem to say that they know a lot more than what others know. And he has just pointed out the fact that Israel is the primary source of this information, and we are told that Israel had actually infiltrated the Iranian security system.
Actually, this is the handwork of Mossad. Mossad is the intelligence organization for Israel that detects and deals with the foreign threats. Now, in terms of Israeli and the United States incursion into Iran, and more especially with special focus on Israel, it is not very strange. For a long time, in fact, I am buttressing the argument my brother
The
here
point he has made.
Yes. Since Netanyahu has been the prime minister of Israel, he has been time and again in various opportunities that he could grab his hands on, arguing Iranian regime must be taken out. But of course, this can also be understood, or this could rather be understood from another angle. The Islamic theocracy of Iran, that of course following the revolution 1979, are threatened, and until today that has been the policy agenda or foreign policy agenda of Iran, that they would want to wipe Israel out of the map and remove Israel from the equation of the geopolitics of the Middle East. And therefore, one cannot mistake the position that Israel might be right to try to, because this is really a war over not only self-determination, but this is existential threat to Israel. Now, building up from that threat, in terms of United States, one would not be so lost in making the argument that Israel is the boy or the big boy being used for purposes of managing foreign policy agenda of the Middle East
by the U.S.
On the other hand, other people from the corridors of politics at the global level, and also especially those who are against the American, political establishment in Washington, they would want to believe that perhaps it is Israel that is determining the fine-tuning of America's foreign policy in the Middle East. In other words, these are the guys from the behind the curtains managing the American government, determining who is going to become the president, determining what kind of resources are going to be placed for purposes of pursuing forein policy goals by the United States in the Middle East. And of course, in other areas that U.S. and also Israel have got interest, other than only the Middle East region. So it is a forth and back argument that we shall take a bit of time as scholars and as analysts to really fine-tune as to what exactly is what. But we can only see the repercussions and the outcome.
All right. We're about to see the repercussions and the outcome, but the possibility of a regime change in Iran, is it something that you think is likely to happen?
It could.
Because Donald Trump is telling the citizens of Iran to rise up and take back their country.
Now, that support for the Iranian people to rise up, of course, has been ongoing for the last many years, but especially with the speedy build-up from December last year, where we have been seeing, protests that have never been seen from '79, since the revolution came. It has never been seen. Now, what has happened? Iranian regime responded with a third of force, that the protesters were managed. You might want to say in a better language that thousands were killed, and everybody said, no, please, I have to go back home. To hell with this so-called yearning for regime change. And then Trump says, no, please, don't worry. Of course, with
support for you is coming. That's what
support is coming. But also, on the other hand, you will realize that the dissident, this Iranian dissident, the prince Reza Pahlavi, of course, he has already established, a shadow government. They have only been waiting for an opportunity for the current regime to be decapitated. Fortunately for his side, I think there has been a bit of decapitation. The smoking out of Ali Khamenei, his military commanders, and those the supposed second, third, fourth in command, those who are, in case one is out, is taken out.
Who takes over?
I think the whole list, over 8 people so far have gone. Now, what's the conversation? In my opinion, whereas Trump is arguing that a regime is going to collapse, such a possibility can happen, but we have a whole lot of a very huge window where we see it may not be as easy. Remember, he has promised that, Trump has promised that it will take him about it will take United States about 1 month. Trust me, it will not take 1 month. And do not get surprised if actually America will withdraw. Because you smoke these guys out.
Can they take that risk, withdraw without accomplishing the mission? Abdul.
No, they will, just a moment. I know they will be interested in adjusting their military objectives. The military objective, of course, was and still remains so far by now. Add pressure, mount a lot of pressure so that the regime either capitulates or decapitate it. But I think it is not going to happen soon.
All right. Let's hear from you, Mr. Barak.
Listening to Mr. Opio deliver fine submissions, I would say I would tend to agree with some of the submissions he has made. For instance, and I will say again, this is not the first time we've seen the United States and her allies go for a regime change in that part of the world. This is an experiment, actually, we have seen before. We have seen it in Iraq. We have seen it. But what we have seen, do things really change? Perhaps the viewer even could think about it. Do things really change? And even, I think, the picture I have in mind goes back to ancient Greece, you know? The 12 labors of Hercules. He was asked to chop off the Hydra. And you see, when I look at extremist ideological regimes, when you look at an ideological regime, it's that has spent close to 4 decades in power, when it cannot just die by you just taking out the head. Because when you take out one head, another one, probably 2 grow. You see, we saw that in Afghanistan. We've seen that in Afghanistan. Most of the leaders, the old regime leaders of Afghanistan, they were taken out of the Taliban. Many of them were taken out during the war, on terror. But what we saw is that you take out one guy, 2 other worse guys pop up. You take out those guys, other guys. Why? Because war creates eternal scars. It scars the soul of a nation. When you invade a nation, the way America has done, where even before you had people who would say, okay, let them help us. But now when you enter another man's house and you take him out in front of all his children, you are basically saying, I'm your boss. And let me tell you, many call them Iranians, but I prefer to call them Persians because this is an empire older than many of ours here. You know, these are very proud people. The people that side, there is a cultural aspect that most Western analysts tend to overshoot, is the fact that these are very proud people. They are so proud that even their language, they speak Farsi.
It's about their culture.
It's about their culture. So right now, what has gone on through them, you saw how many of them went to the streets to mourn their leader.
Went to celebrate.
Yes, we saw some, but when you compare the figures of the ones that were celebrating and the ones that were mourning, you'll find that the numbers of the mourners were more than the numbers of the ones rejoicing. So basically for me, it's a fact. The entire architect of the Middle East has changed forever.
Okay.
We will not go back to the way things were.
All right.
But one thing I've noticed is the anger. The anger towards Americans and American
allies.
It has been renewed.
Okay.
Fresh. You know, there are new, what they call them mujahideen, that side, those martyrs, people who are ready to fight, those extremists. I believe that these scenarios has created new ones, meaning even those people who are, one of the statements that comes out is the statement from the Omani foreign minister who was mediating the talks for a new deal, and the dismay. Meaning that even the people who are looking for a diplomatic solution, they are now capitulated. They don't know where to start from. They're like, man, we were almost skinning this animal. We had brought it to the plate, and then you knocked everything over while we were about to going to start a feast. So it kind of sets the whole conversation back. And in a nutshell, it shows that diplomacy and the international system, they kind of do not have an answer for the Middle East at the moment.
All right. Spectrum on